Today for a former East Texas girls basketball coach and athletic director. Good evening and thank you for being with us.
The former coach was found guilty of tampering with evidence centering around a phone recording in a girls' locker room. Right now, a sentence is being deliberated for Jamie Mays, the former athletic director at LaPoynor ISD in Henderson County. He was found guilty of 2 counts of tampering with evidence this afternoon. KLTV7's JD Conti brings us more from the courtroom tonight.
A former coach, a cell phone, and a shoe. Those are the subjects of a trial this week here in Henderson County. Prosecutors say former LaPoynor ISD athletic director Jamie Mays was recording girls in the locker room. One afternoon, a cheerleader discovered a phone recording inside a shoe, lens side up under a locker room bench. When she reported it, Mays took the phone and deleted the video. Defense lawyers argued he did it to protect the girls, while prosecutors say he knew he'd been caught. And this afternoon, after 4.5 hours of deliberations, the jury sided with the state. Members of Mays' family were in the room. The rest of the room was filled with LaPoynor ISD community members, with several signs of relief heard after the verdicts were read. Because the video was deleted, Mays was charged with tampering with evidence. His second count alleged he then broke into the school's administration building and stole that phone. Defense lawyers called a surveillance video of the alleged break-in Sasquatch footage, questioning the quality of the video. Prosecutors say the phone was the only thing stolen and that Mays was one of the only ones who knew where it was. Earlier this week, the ISD police chief testified Mays told him that the phone found in the locker room matched one he had lost. The punishment phase began shortly after the verdict was read this afternoon. In Athens, JD Conti, KLTV 7 News.
And again, that sentencing deliberation is underway. A verdict could come soon, and we will update you. Mays faces 2 to 10 years in prison for each of those 2 counts.